Hello, and I'm your girl, Lisa Powell, and I'm just back to give you another initial thought. And today's thought's going to be on the wealthiest people on the earth. Now, who do you think that would be? I know you're probably thinking Bill Gates and all those guys that got money that seems to be endless money, which it probably is for them. But you know, some of the wealthiest people on the planet are truly the children of a living God. Now, where am I going with this? There is no limit to what God can do for his children. Our God owns a cattle on 1,000 hills. Everything belongs to God. The glory is the Lord and the fullness thereof. Saints of God, we are just strangers here passing through. The Bible tells us that we are pilgrims here in a foreign land. We are very wealthy people here as a child of a living God. Every day when we are hungry, God provides for us food. When we are thirsty, he gives us drink. Clothes on our back. When you need a car, it may not be a Maserati. It may not even be that BMW that you desire, but you got a car. That house, it may not be a mansion on the top of a hill, but you got a house. Saints of God, if we would just be content with the things that God gives us as we're just journeying through this foreign land, and come to realize that our treasures truly should be built for what lies ahead, for the kingdom that awaits us and the riches that awaits us in glory, we will realize that we are very wealthy people. Because see, where we might not have endless bank accounts and that big mansion or that fancy car, we got treasures that are built up in heaven, where rust will not destroy, where moth will not destroy. But see, those that are building their riches here on earth, one day will burn with fervent heat. Because see, by the sweat of their brow do they obtain their riches. But God tells us, seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things shall be added. So the things that we desire in this life, God adds for us. And he gives us even the desires of our hearts. So some of us do have very nice cars and very beautiful homes, because there's nothing wrong with that. Don't ever misunderstand me. There is nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with having a nice car. There's nothing wrong with having a nice house. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm just saying that sometimes we can set our goals and our desires based on what we see other people have, when we should just set our hearts and our desires on God, and God will then give us the desires of our heart. And maybe you will get a mansion here on earth. It may one day, well, it will one day burn with fervent heat. But that mansion that God is preparing for us, oh, wow. Saints of God will never compare to anything that's down here. So all I wanted to say was that the wealth that we see here, the big yachts, the fancy boats, the mansions, the fancy cars, the bling bling that you see on people's fingers and around their necks and in their ears, and you know, all that stuff is temporary. It's temporary. But that which a Christian builds is eternal. And no one can take that. And that will never, ever, ever be taken away. It will never, ever get old. It will never, ever wear out. Because see, where our God sits, that's where our treasure sits. And our God will never wear out. Our God will never get old. So our stuff is secure in Christ Jesus. And that's all I wanted to say was that, we're just pilgrims here passing through. And we're very rich pilgrims if we are in Christ Jesus. Because see, our Father, there is no limit to what God can do for his people. So we truly are some of the richest people on earth. And please don't ever forget that. God says all you got to do is ask. And some people, when we talk about tithing, and it says, bring all your tithe into the storehouse, and that there may be meat in my house, and how God will open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there may not be room enough to receive it. So some people tithe, based on a return. But there are people that don't have money to tithe, and God still blesses, because that's what kind of God we serve. That's what kind of God we serve. God doesn't need what he gives us. He doesn't need that 10%. He's just looking for faithfulness from us. God needs nothing that we have except for us to worship him. Saints, we were created to worship, and that's all God truly requires from us is worship. So I just wanted to say that we are some of the wealthiest people on earth. So take pleasure in that and take joy in that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.